Hi there, this is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15. I've been homeschooling for over 3 decades, and today I want to share with you something that will add to your life. So go ahead, you can wash the dishes, fold the laundry, feed the baby, whatever you need to do, and hopefully you'll get something in our little talk that will bless you today. So, we've been talking a lot recently about notebooking. This is so exciting to me. I love notebooking. Notebooking has set me free in my homeschool journey to really have a lot of freedom with structure. And so we talked about how we're developing the Commonplace Books, and we had a contest. And if you're part of our community, you would have seen in your feed some announcements concerning that. And we have winners for this, and they are so cute. And very soon we will be putting them up as a gallery in a gallery page on my blog, on my website, actually, momdelights.com. And we're going to be including certain ones of those pictures in our book as examples for anyone who purchases a Commonplace book filled with notebooking pages for their children, so they'll kind of have an idea of what they should be doing. There's so many cute ones. I mean, we had so much fun. I printed all of the notebooking pages out, and they put them on my dining room table, and then we went around with little note pages, and we had our choices, and we just thought they were so precious. We laughed a lot. We deliberated. No, this one should be no. It was so hard to choose. We wish every one of them should have won because they were all wonderful. There wasn't one that was bad. So anyway, we're so sorry if you didn't get the final cut, but you know what? You will still be on the gallery page on my blog, and a lot of people will see it, okay? So thank you so much for your participation. That was so much fun. And someone suggested we should do contests like this every once in a while, which would be fun I think for homeschoolers. I was always looking for contests for my kids because it gives them incentive to want to maybe write a little better or put a little more effort into something. And it's kind of exciting. So we might think of doing that in the future. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Anyway, besides that, I got a lot of questions about notebooking. People want to know some of the basics, and a lot of people are unfamiliar because I guess it's kind of gone out of favor. For a while there, notebooking was really big in the homeschooling community. And then a lot of free curriculums came in that people can download or whatever, and a new crop of homeschoolers came in. And so there are a lot of different ideas that kind of took over, and notebooking kind of took the back seat. But I'm hoping that we can kind of bring it forward for people that are inclined to do this type of homeschooling, that you can feel free and get a lot of information, a lot of encouragement, a lot of examples, and etc. So I'm going to be answering some of the questions I received today. Now, one of the questions was, can you make notebooking your curriculum? And absolutely you can. Okay, in a certain way. Okay, so you don't have to have a whole bunch of workbooks in order to learn something. Okay, I know we've been taught you have texts and work texts, and that's how you get information, because you want to make sure that it's kind of standardized and children learn what they need to learn. There are many ways to use notebooking instead of a work text. Now, you could use this with a textbook if you wanted to, but you don't have to. You can take a regular book that's just interesting to you. I had a daughter who loved horses and was interested in horses. And so Marguerite Henry, she writes books about horses. She wrote Christie of the Chincoteague, I think that's what it's called, and a number of horse books. And so she actually has a book, it's a big book, a coffee table book, just about horses. And so I gave her that book, and I had her take each type of horse and read about it, and then do a notebooking page on that type of horse. And she just filled a whole notebook full of her information on horses. And that was something she was interested in, something she loved doing. So that's one way you can do it. You could also take a regular textbook, let's say a U.S. history textbook, and you could go through you could use that as what we call a spine. And each chapter, what it deals with, you could take that chapter, you could explore that with your children, not just read the chapter verbatim, but take all those different concepts. And let's say you want to read a novel about, let's say it was about the Civil War. So you would read a novel, maybe an autobiography or a biography of Abraham Lincoln, or maybe read a book like Up From Slavery, or we really liked Uncle Tom's Cabin, and you could read that book aloud, and then you could explore the different what led up to the Civil War. What some people say the Civil War was about, and other people say it was about something else. There's a controversy there. I don't know if you knew that, but once you delve into it, you find out maybe it's not just what they put in the textbooks in school. Maybe there's another side to this. And so you look at all the different aspects. You can even just study disease. You can do biology. You can study the different diseases that mostly killed the soldiers during that war, of cholera and malnutrition, and all the different things, typhus and gangrene, all the different things that happened to these soldiers, that they were killed mostly by disease and not necessarily by bullets and cannons. There's another aspect that would lead to all kinds of other things. And as you're learning these things, then you are doing notebooking pages. And if you have older children, then you can have them study on their own. They can do research. They can read a novel on their own and notebook about that, different subjects they find interesting. So there's all kinds of ways. And you can do that with history. You can do it with science. You can do it with math, yeah. You can do it with the Bible, absolutely. So you can build a curriculum around the idea of notebooking. And notebooking, definitely you can do that. You can, like I said, you can take a regular textbook and make it your spine. If you live in a district where there are certain things you have to study, well, you can study those things using unconventional books that would be considered textbooks, but you can have your children notebook about that, and then you could turn those things in. You could explain, this is what we do. I know that even in public school settings, they keep notebooks. They call them, I think, notebooks or journals. You can look that. I look it up on Pinterest, and I find things about that. Okay, so that could be acceptable if you have to submit that type of proof to your district. Okay. Now another question is this good for high school? And I say absolutely yes. Actually, if you have a student that is preparing for college, this helps with the research and paper writing part of it. It just absolutely dovetails into that idea, because especially for a student who you want to have independent study, you could give them a subject or even a thesis statement for an essay. And you could have a notebooking page that helps them to find different concepts as they're reading, as they're researching. They do the research on their own. Mom's not standing up and saying, well, you have to read this chapter, do this, do this. You can say, well, you have to have 3 different references for the material you're going to use for these notebooking pages. And you have to cite them. You have to tell me what they were and where you found them. And then you have to fill in, you have to write an essay about this subject matter. Okay, and so for high school, it just works perfectly. I mean, you can turn them loose. You can give them deadlines. Deadlines are something that homeschoolers have trouble with in college and other things. And so you can make a deadline for them. There's lots of different ways that you can do this. Okay. And also for life skills, it teaches them to be an independent learner for just their lives. So it's really great. Okay, here's the next question. How do you fit notebooking into your day? Well, a lot of us, what the current trends are in homeschooling is that we have morning time, we have basket time, and that's how we tended to flow too. Okay, and how we tend to flow now, actually, is we sit around and we may have certain read aloud, certain things we're studying together, certain scriptures we want to memorize, or what have you. And so we're doing that first thing in the morning. And then after that, you can have the little kids play, and if you have middle range or older kids, you can have them do an independent study. And then in early afternoon, everyone can sit down and they can have a notebooking time, right? And that means that you would have at your table or your desk or wherever you do this, you have accessibility to colored pencils and glue sticks and all the different things that they would want to use to put together in their notebooking page. One of the notebooking pages that was submitted for our contest had some actual watercoloring, which was great. Or if you wanted to print a picture out from the internet and paste it into your area, or copy one from a book and put it in there, whatever it is, and for educational purposes, of course, then you could do that and you can cut it out and glue it on your notebooking pages. And so you just have scissors and all that stuff available. You can have some people have a rolling cart with their materials. Other people might put a caddy in the middle of the table with crayons and colored pencils and that type of thing. And then everybody understands that during that time, that's what you're doing. And now in the background, you can have some classical music, some Mozart or some Bach or something like that. And so you're actually inculcating, really helping them to develop taste for better things as they're writing. You put some bluegrass on if you want to. Or, some jazz. But, just you're developing their senses. You're helping them to get in their ears really good quality things while they're working on their notebooking pages, which is fun. And you could even offer a snack, make it really be a special time. And it could be really neat. And then you want to celebrate those notebooking pages. And for us, what we would do is we would once a week have a time when each person would stand up and recite and read their notebooking pages aloud. Now, there is a reason for that, and I'll get into that in just a few minutes. There's a reason why you want your children to read their notebooking pages aloud, and it's kind of sneaky, but it's really smart. I'll show you. Okay, then the next question I received is, how do you fill them in? Okay, this can be a quandary for some of us because we believe that you should have special spaces that are specified. And some kids really require this. They will lose their minds if you say, here you go. Now I want you to fill in this page. It's blank with some blocks and some lines. Have fun. And they're totally lost. Sometimes you have to say, okay, right here I want you to pick out 5 words in what you read, and I want you to put them there. 5 important words, and give them some direction. And sometimes that helps some kids. Some kids, they know exactly what they want to do. Mom, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do this. And they go crazy and they do better than what you even imagined. Let those kids alone. They're doing good. As long as they're not too distracted. You might need to put a little boundary on that. But basically, it's whatever you want your child to fill in. Okay. Now, you can even, let's say that you're studying as a group of kids, and say you have 2 or 3, 8 kids, like me, and you wanted to study something, you're studying something like ancient Rome, and you're studying centurions, and you're studying the Roman army. Well, you might have ideas in your mind of what you really want the kids to remember from what you've read to them and studied with them. You could have watched a movie or a YouTube video or a documentary or anything, or you could have read something from a textbook, or you could have read a coffee table book or anything. And so what you want to do is you'll write the things on a whiteboard, the important words, right? I used to do this all the time. I'd write the important words I want them to write down. Then I might have a map, and I'd have them fill out on the map the different things of interest that we just talked about. And then I might have a question I want them to answer in the essay part of their notebooking page. So that's one way you can do it too. So anyway, do you correct the pages is another question. And this is very important because with notebooking pages, I wanted my kids to be encouraged to be creative and to share what was really in their mind as much as they could. So I really don't correct notebooking pages. I have notebooking pages over there in those binders that I kept for my kids, and there are a lot of errors in there. But I just wanted them to be so free to express what they were thinking and the creativity they had that I wanted them not to have to worry about being corrected. So I didn't do that. No, I didn't correct it. And I know people are going to say, well, then they didn't really learn. Well, see, that combined with the McGuffey readers using the Charlotte Mason method, as well as things like gentle grammar and Harvey's grammar, eventually it all got in there, and they're great writers and spellers. They're above average. I'm not saying that they're geniuses. And everybody has their limits, right? And there are different limitations. But generally speaking, as they increased in their ability just from, maturing, that they caught their own mistakes. Now, here's the sneaky part I was going to share with you just a few minutes ago. If you can have a time where your child has to read from their notebooking page aloud, they oftentimes will catch their own mistakes, and you won't have to say a word, and they'll go, oh my goodness, I missed and you know what I'm saying? And they'll say, well, you can correct that in a minute. And then after they've done reading, after you've gone through, then you can take the child and you can say, well, here's what you should have written here. And you can kind of say, well, when you write a sentence like that, you probably want to do this. And that was kind of run on you, you know what I'm saying? And you can help them then. But then, see, they're open to it. It's like a thing that they want to do because they want to be correct, right? Another thing you can do is you can say, well, listen, you do this notebooking page, and I'm going to take and send a copy of this to Grandma. Oh, or whoever, or auntie, or whoever it is, and so they can see what good work you're doing. Oh, all of a sudden the mistakes make a lot of difference, and so they correct them themselves. They'll ask you, Mom, did I spell this right? Okay, now the next question that I had was, how many should you do? Okay, so how many notebooking pages should you do a week? And I think it depends on so many different things. One of the main things is the ability of your child to write legibly, and their interest level. And so their ability level, their interest level are like the main things. And the next thing is like the workload level. I mean, you can go crazy with notebooking. You think, I can notebook everything. And so you load up this poor child, they have to do like 3 or 4 notebooking pages a day, and they're not really doing really good work on those notebooking pages because they just got to fill them out, right? And so for me, if I really want to see them really be enthused about really making a really good notebooking page, 1 a day, especially if I use the lesson books with the McGuffey readers as I do, I think 1 a day for a notebooking page is like the max. And sometimes it's like 1 every 2 days or 1 every week even, depending on where we're at, right? Because if they're like high school level, like you're doing a lot of research and stuff, so maybe you want a really nice like multi-page notebooking folio. And so you want to make sure that they have enough time to really devote to this notebooking page. So that I know that doesn't probably answer a lot, but hopefully it gives you an idea. This is really open-ended, okay? Notebooking is an open-ended idea. It's like, you know, the difference between handing your child a toy like a remote control like a remote control car, you know, and you know what that, you know, it has a certain amount of freedom included in it, because you can take that car and take it different places, but you know really what it is you flip the buttons and the car moves and da-da, that's its function, right? Or you can do like with I did with my grandsons this, like on Mother's Day. One of my daughters and her husband bought us these huge Jenga blocks. I mean, they're like this, right? So when you build that Jenga tower, it's like up to here. And I had my grandsons bring those out to our back deck, and I said, build us a Jenga tower. Of course, they didn't really build a Jenga tower. They built all kinds of stuff, you know? And so that's the difference between a remote control thing and just a set of blocks, right? So if you think about it, a boxed curriculum with all the work text and all the, you know, you do this and then they say this and then you do that. Okay, so that's kind of like the remote control car or whatever. When I was a kid, we had the Barbie head that you would style her hair. Okay, so that's like, it has a function and it's interesting, but once you, I mean, it's not really open-ended. You can't do that. I mean, my grandsons took those blocks and they were like, you can build ramps for cars, you can do all kinds of stuff with those, right? That's what notebooking is. Notebooking is open-ended. You pretty much, the sky's the limit. I mean, there are certain things that you can start with that will help you, especially if you're used to the structure of a work text, that you might need to have specific things laid out. It might make you feel more comfortable, and that's fine. Believe me, I've been there. Some days I'm still there. But if you can open up and allow it to be more open-ended, then you and your children can actually expand the way you learn and the things you learn, and your children will remember more and you'll have more fun together. And that's the whole point. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions that I got. I know there are probably even more interesting answers to some of those questions, and you can do some research and find those out. And now I will give you something more. Okay, so these days it seems that anybody and everybody can be a celebrity. We have like this YouTube channel here. We have all social media. Everybody and their brother gets 15 seconds worth of notoriety, shall we say. But for us at home with our little kids, another thing that I do also notice is like every once in a while on my feed will pop up a homemaker or somebody at home or somebody cooking or something, and their entire channel has had 15 views. So it's like, you're going to go out there, you're going to do something, and you get crickets, right? And that can feel defeating. It can feel discouraging because there's something in us in these days that wants people to notice us. We want to make an impact. It's just a natural human desire to want to make an impact and be seen and be noticed, right? Now, the reason I don't really have that great of an audience, but I love the community that we're building because I think it's more sincere. It's not huge right now, but I'm just really happy for all of you because we have such wonderful interactions, and that is fine with me. I don't have to be the top number one dog. I think that would invite more problems than solutions in my life. But the reason that I even am up to where I'm at is because I've been at this for so many years. I really do not set this as my priority. My family is my priority, right? My husband and my children and all my grandchildren and all that kind of stuff, they're my priority. So this is what I do as a ministry. I love to bless people. It kind of adds to my life. It's something fun. And so actually, I could really be up there if I really focused, right? But I just can't see myself dividing from all these people that I love in order to do that. You see what I'm trying to say? Anyway, you understand. So I have as many views as I do. I have a following on my blog because I've been at this whole thing since 2005. And so I built it up, and it's more like a sweet community, a sweet friendship kind of thing. Now, I remember when I was at home and I had 3 children, the oldest at 3, and at one point I had 7 children, the oldest 9. And I can remember very clearly when we were so poor, we were the kind of poor that people despise. I don't know if you understand that. I don't think people mean to do it, but if you go to church and you have the same dress every Sunday and, you're really struggling, people can tell, right? I used to go to Baskin Robbins ice cream and get their ice cream buckets and stack them in a certain way so I would have a place to put my children's clothes in the closet. Okay, and serving Jesus by serving tiny children and my husband, I would wonder, does anyone see what I'm doing every day? Now, at church, right, we're told to get out of our comfort zones and go out for God and all that kind of stuff. And at times we can feel kind of stuck at home, like we can't do anything for Jesus, or we're just here at home doing nothing. And so we can come away from church feeling more discouraged than when we entered the building. And but I think that, well, let me share this story. When I had the 3 children, 3 and under, there was a lady minister at her church, and there was a women's meeting, and she stood up and she started giving her talk. And she shared that one of her children had spilled some milk on, when she was trying to get ready for this meeting. One of her children spilled the milk, and how it frustrated her so much because she was trying to go out and serve God, right? And her children were hindering her. Okay? And, that's all you need, right? You're already feeling like you're home with your kids and you're not doing anything for God. And then this lady minister confirms that for you. It was really a bad choice. But here's something that happens, okay? Preachers in churches, this is a thing, okay? I know this because we were in ministry for a long time and we dealt with a lot of pastors, okay? This is a thing that pastors actually get together and they sit around and they talk about ways they can get people more involved in church, okay? It's a thing. It's like, and a lot of it is from sincerity. They really want people to have ownership in the church so that they'll be encouraged to go and so they'll get discipled. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But there's another side to this that's not biblical at all because, ministers need workers. They need people to watch the kids in children's church so they don't get interrupted when they're preaching. They need somebody to clean and to organize all the different potlucks and everything. They need workers. They can't do it all themselves. So sometimes they get a little over enthusiastic about people, like insinuating that there might be lazy in Jesus. Okay, so anyway, so they spend a lot of time on that. But that's not what the Bible says, okay? God isn't impressed by YouTube views or rankings on social media. He looks on the heart. He noticed the widow's mite. He saw the disciple under the fig tree. He hears the prayer in the closet. He notices the tiny bird that falls. He fed Elijah when he was all alone in the wilderness. And what you hear in the background is my washing machine. He gave songs to King David while he was alone tending his sheep. He met Jacob when he was fleeing and showed him heaven. He saw Joseph in a prison cell. He met Mary, who was just a solitary young woman, and he sees you. Think of the woman who poured out the oil on Jesus. It was a year's wages. That's it would be like $50,000, $60,000 worth of oil that she poured on him. Think about that. Was that a waste? There you are with all of your talents and giftings, and yet you spend it all on some tiny humans and a husband. It is a pouring out of your heart and soul in that little speck of a place you call home. But is it wasted? No. It is a sweet-smelling offering at the feet of Jesus. A treasure stored in heaven that will last for eternity. Well, I hope that blesses you. Please like and subscribe and click bells and all those whistles and all those different kinds of things if you can. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.